Signal is an end-to-end encrypted application that can only communicate with itself. And to be absolutely clear from a civil liberties perspective, the fact that we're using encrypted messaging, many people do this routinely for everything. Now, there's two roles here. One is part of the story, which we'll come back to. The other is just the evidence base. Phones, devices were seized, undeleted messages were recovered, and those messages told a story of people who did various things to plan this noise protest. The language that was being used in those chats, none of which, by the way, said, let's go and shoot some law enforcement people. That's not what it said. It said there was a discussion about weapons, apparently. It was a discussion saying that people thought that there was a chance that they could become the victims of gunfire from someone, and they wanted to be able to defend themselves. And in the state of Texas, which is an open carry state, this is perfectly legal. Now, my personal opinion about the advisability of this is a different issue. You can take one of my security trainings and talk about why I think that might not be the best decision making. It was perfectly legal, and it doesn't change protected First Amendment speech into non-protected speech. Now, if you shoot someone, that's obviously a crime and is not First Amendment protected. There may be self-defense, possible defenses, but in this case, that was not particularly asserted. The claim was that it was an accident, but the shots were fired, and that in itself would have been illegal. So there was a crime. It's just all of this ancillary conspiracy stuff. Anyway, Signal then is used to make a story. These are obviously, and the logic is this, and prosecutors don't even have to say this because this is common sense for most people in this country. If you're not doing anything wrong, why would you have to keep it a secret? And then there's the fact that Signal allows disappearing messages. Now, if there's a crime that's been committed and people are being charged, you can't legally go back and erase messages that you might have been party to anything that had to do with it. This would be concealing evidence. Mm-hmm. But Signal understands, like many kinds of privacy-related technology products, that you may not want every offhand comment that you ever made in a chat to be taken as potential evidence in the future for anything, including your dark humor joke or your irony that is not contextualized and allows these things to be automatically deleted after an hour, a day, a week, a month, whatever you want. Also, just from a purely practical point of view, you probably don't want years worth of messages clogging up your device memory. There's no reason to keep all of that. It is intended as ephemera, more like the flow of conversation than signed documents that are meant to be part of some kind of public record. So there's the story saying that using an encrypted app in the first place is evidence that you must be wanting to do something wrong. Well, reality is millions of people use Signal. They use it all the time for everything, including chatting with their kids and sending a let's meet for coffee note, whatever else. The other thing is, this is when I'm talking to people, I'm in security trainings. And so I'm telling them, look, let go of the cosplay. This language that has come to us around quote unquote security culture and language that has come from military, the same with kind of like the intimidating outfits and the tactical vests and this kind of thing. This is juvenile and it's not useful. However, it's also not illegal. And again, whether or not I think it's good tactics doesn't matter from the point of view is the Trump administration using it and the DOJ and Department of Homeland Security using it to leverage an idea of there is this dangerous militarized faction that is plotting to stop or to just somehow menace the United States. Now, there are factions who are planning. The difference between plot and a plan is just an intention to do something. And that intention is to legally protest and politically change people's thoughts, candidates who are elected, opinions of elected officials, and so on. All of that is protected legal speech and essential to the functioning of sort of any kind of democracy. And this is really what we're looking at the edge of. I'm not saying that graffiti on federal vehicles and destroying security cameras is protected speech. It's not. But it's also a stretch to call this terrorism threatening the existence of the United States or even that particular ICE facility.